So fellas, weapon crafting is upon us, and we've already put out a few guides, but I need to take a moment really just to complain. And I hate to complain, man, because weapon crafting has been something we've all been excited about for so long, since the first time we heard about it. And actually, the gameplay loop for weapon crafting is pretty good. So let me just first walk you through how crafting is supposed to work. You start by doing the activities that drop whatever particular weapon it is that you're going for. Occasionally, one of the weapons that are dropping will have a red border around it, meaning that that weapon has to be attuned. After you've attuned that weapon, you can then pull resources from it. And upon attuning multiple of that same weapon, you will eventually obtain the pattern for it, which will allow you to craft that weapon in weapon crafting. When you finally do decide to dedicate the resources that you've already pulled from those attuned weapons to finally craft that perfected weapon, you only have a variety of perks to choose from to start off with, but there are other much more desirable perks to go for. These enhanced traits, which by the way, we're going to be making a video on as well at some point, going over all the enhanced traits. And by the way, there's over 120 enhanced traits that has currently been added to the database. Now, after you obtain the crafted weapon that you want, which by the way, just shaping a weapon to begin with costs resources. But then after obtaining that weapon, you then have to level it up, which takes quite a while, guys. I mean, to fully unlock a weapon and all of its enhanced traits requires somewhere around level 16, which is hours and hours of gameplay with that weapon. But upon reaching a certain level with that weapon, you then take that weapon and you can reshape it. And reshaping it for enhanced perks is where things start to get extremely expensive. It requires a large amount of neutral elements. It also requires a large amount of those legendary elements, so things like mutable elements, ruinous elements, etc. And it requires an Ascendant Alloy. Now, Ascendant Alloy can either be purchased from the Cryptarch. You do get 2 of them from the campaign mission. They also drop from the master version of Wellspring and the replayable versions of the campaign missions. Now, currently right now, Ascendant Alloy is just stupid rare in certain activities. I find that the campaign missions are pretty forgiving. It seems like it rewards Ascendant Alloys pretty regularly, but Master Wellspring was terrible. We did over 7 hours of Master Wellspring and I got one Ascendant Alloy. Now, I know I don't have the best RNG, but that's pretty bad. And I honestly think that Wellspring is bugged or something. But if Bungie's actually intentionally making it this rare, this is terrible. And this is where I want to get into my biggest complaint. Weapon crafting in general is pretty amazing. It's another way for us to really perfect our arsenal, and I really love it in that design. However, when Bungie previously talked about weapon crafting in Vidocs, TWABs, etc., they made it out like swapping traits for your perfected weapon would be a click of a button and would just charge a small amount of some resource or currency. Fellas, I'm in a situation right now where I'm trying to try out all of the new enhanced traits. Automatically, whenever I get my lightly suspect fusion rifle to level 20 plus, my first thought is to try out all the cool new traits, most notably the enhanced traits. The problem is, every time you reshape a weapon, it costs. And it costs a pretty decent amount. Like even just changing perks and traits, even traits you've already unlocked, is still gonna cost you quite a bit of neutral elements. But then when you actually have to change an enhanced trait, it charges an Ascendant Alloy all over again. Now understand, this goes against at least what I thought would be weapons 3.0. Yes, we pretty much have it, right? But in my opinion, considering the large quantity of resources that's being spent here, including 1 Ascendant Alloy, that trait should remain unlocked forever. I do not understand why enhanced heating up cost me an Ascendant Alloy the first time, and if I wanted to reslot it again after trying out another trait, it would cost me an Ascendant Alloy again. It should be unlocked. You've already leveled the weapon up. You've already gathered all the resources, and at this point, this is just a way for Bungie to drag out the grind here. But what's worse about it is that it actually pushes you to not explore trait combinations. As someone who wants to find the god roll to a weapon, I am more than willing to spend the resources every single time to purchase one of these enhanced traits once. Then after that, that's enough for me, man. I love the idea of acquiring a weapon, obtaining a weapon pattern, gathering resources, and then taking those resources to shape your final weapon, and then taking that weapon and leveling it up, which can take hours. And then after leveling it up, spend all these different currencies, which by the way, drops from only in-game content, funnel that into the final perfected version of that weapon. I love love this. This is truly what I've always wanted. What I don't like is that despite us spending and investing all of these resources that we worked for, the weapon doesn't feel like ours because we're having to repurchase these enhanced traits all over again. Now, if you're okay with this, then fine. I'm in the minority here, but let me just say this. Weapons 3.0 is supposed to solve a major problem of ours, which is vault space. What this is actually going to make me do is craft various versions of that final weapon versus what I originally thought was going to be one weapon, one final version of it with all traits unlocked for it. Now, there is a couple reasons why Bungie probably did it this way. Obviously, to push people to grind more. Secondly, I honestly think this is a knee-jerk reaction from Bungie. A lot of people, when they saw weapon crafting for the first time, literally came out and said, this is going to kill Destiny. Weapon crafting is going to kill Destiny because the game is all about looting. It's all about grinding, obtaining loot, and this right here with weapon crafting, where you can essentially make your own god roll, is going to kill the entire incentive for playing Destiny to begin with. So I honestly think Bungie just turned the dials up on everything, which is why weapon crafting right now is so dang grindy. But even beyond the grind, I'm okay with grind. I'm just not okay with the amount of resources that I invest in a weapon and literally getting nothing from it and being punished for trying to explore other trait combinations. Now, second thing I want to complain about, and that honestly, that whole rant we just had right there was complaint number one, which is just about resources and management with them. I do have some small complaints about overall resource caps, which I don't like, because now I'm in a situation where before I pull out materials and attune a weapon, I'm actually just throwing them into my vault so that I can eventually pull those resources out of them whenever I've already crafted something and relinquish some of those resources. And we've got caps on everything, pretty much from the base elements to Resonant Alloy to the legendary elements. There's caps on all of it. So I definitely don't like the caps whatsoever. But more so than that, we are running into a situation right now where we are trying to complete the exotic glaive quests. Now, what's happened here recently is we're pretty much on step 3 of 6 on the second to the last quest. And we've been waiting to finish this quest out. And we've been grinding nonstop. But essentially, you have to obtain these throne roll weapons from Wellspring, but not just obtain them. You have to find these certain weapons with that red border to attune them. That's the only way you're going to get a weapon pattern. The most annoying thing right now in obtaining these weapon patterns is that yesterday I grinded for over 7 hours and I got one red box drop of Come to Pass. The rest of them were all regular versions of Come to Pass. No red box.
Hey, I never doubted you for a second. Thanks for always being a hero.
This is awful, Chad. This is absolutely terrible. And you know, this is crazy because I got tons of Come to Pass rolls to drop. And the same was with Tarnation. I got tons of Tarnations to drop. The issue is that getting them to drop is not the hard part. It's the red box that's surrounding it. That's the hard part. Fellas, it's RNG to a factor of RNG. And I've stated it before, but that's exactly what's going on here. When in reality, what should be the case is that there should be something in the database that is registering whether or not you've obtained that pattern for that weapon. And if you haven't, then every drop that drops for you should be a red box weapon. It should have that red border. And if Bungie's worrying about people stockpiling these red box bordered weapons for attunement and materials in the future, just have a system in which it takes inventory as soon as you obtain the required amount for that pattern. So for Come to Pass, you need 2 red border versions in order to obtain the pattern. Have the game register that, hey, this guy has obtained and has on him 2 red border Come to Passes waiting to be attuned. Therefore, every roll that we drop after this will just be a normal Come to Pass. He'll eventually get around to attuning those weapons and obtaining the pattern for himself. Currently, right now, there is no bad luck protection. You either get lucky and you get the weapon pattern fairly quickly, or you're like us and you're having to grind every single day for hours on end. And then on top of that, these weapons are in rotation, so you can only have a chance of getting them the day that they're dropping. This is all tied to the exotic glaive quests. You have to do this. So if you're sitting there going, oh, Cross, I'm not going to worry about that, man. Well, you don't have to if you don't want the exotic glaive, but eventually you may want the glaive, especially if it turns out to be as dominant as Lament was when it first dropped. Lament was so strong, people were literally abandoning Deepstone Crypt to finish that sword out, to then go back into DSC and whoop up on Atrax. So these exotic glaives may be something crazy, and we've been trying and struggling to get all the weapon patterns required here to finish this exotic glaive quest out. And I know someone's gonna say it. Oh, looky here, another Destiny streamer complaining about the grind being too hard. Listen, I'm not complaining about the grind. What I'm complaining about about is RNG to factors of RNG. I'm complaining that red box weapons, there doesn't seem to be any type of bad luck protection surrounding it or when it comes to obtaining these weapon patterns. I'm complaining that resource management overall doesn't feel good. I don't like caps on resources, and I don't like having to purchase such hefty amounts into certain traits to then turn around to repurchase them yet again. Weapon crafting is a great system, and this is changing Destiny for the better. But I have to bring up these complaints because eventually, even if you're just now finishing up the campaign, you will be met with these same problems. So guys, I just wanted to throw this video together. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.